What's going on, you guys? This is New York Adventurer 1994 here, and today is Monday, July 1st, 2024, and it is the day after my birthday, and today is Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to the people who live up north in Canada, and it's the day after my birthday, and I had a really great birthday yesterday with my family, and we went to Texas Roadhouse for dinner. And I am back to making tropical updates again after 3 days because I wanted to enjoy my birthday weekend. I wanted to focus on my birthday regardless of how much activity is happening in the Atlantic right now with the hurricanes. But I'm back to doing tropical updates again. My birthday is past, so I'm back to working on that again. So this is another tropical update I want to share with you guys. Last night, on the final hours of my birthday, sometime after we had cake, I was watching New York Prepper's live stream regarding Hurricane Beryl because it was going to approach the Windward Islands as a major hurricane. And Hurricane Beryl got its name late Friday night, early Saturday, and it was a tropical storm, and then by Saturday afternoon it rapidly intensified into a hurricane. And then by Sunday on my birthday it grew rapidly into a major hurricane. It became a category 4. The National Hurricane Center originally had this thing to go up to a Cat 3, but boy were they wrong. This thing went up into a Cat 4. And I won't be surprised if it hits a Cat 5 status. That's really possible. It could still hit a Cat 5 status. It could really go into a Cat 5. That's not out of the question. They had this thing going up to a Cat 3, but they were so wrong. I really think the National Hurricane Center was trying to hide panic and trying to minimize the seriousness of the situation. Yeah, I really think it was the National Hurricane Center hiding panic as usual and underestimating this hurricane. When the hurricane's going into warm waters, it has all this energy to become a stronger hurricane than just the Cat 3. And we were actually proven correct. It actually went up into a Cat 4. And I still think it could go to a Cat 5. Yeah, whatever the Hurricane Center says, I always think it's going to be more than that because of just for safety reasons. Yeah, whatever the National Hurricane Center had this thing going up to, I actually think it's going to be stronger than that. I always go by my gut with these things, where I actually think the hurricane's going to be much stronger than what they have forecasted. And they had this thing going up to a Cat 3, but I thought it was going to be much stronger than that. And boy, were we proven correct. This thing became a Cat 4 hurricane, and over last night, this thing passed through the Barbados, and it made landfall into the other Windward Islands as a major hurricane, and it brought a lot of bad impacts to those areas. It got a lot of flooding, a lot of rain, a lot of very destructive winds. This thing went up to 150 mile-an-hour winds. This thing was a Cat 4, a very strong Cat 4, and it had maximum sustained winds of 150 miles an hour. And that is a very destructive Cat 4 hurricane. Very disastrous. The Windward Islands had to go through a lot of rain and a lot of destructive winds and a lot of flooding. And the impacts just got started last night. Yeah, I remember telling you guys a few minutes ago that I was watching New York Prepper's live stream, and I actually saw on the security cams that the wind started to pick up, and the waves were getting louder and louder, and the winds were starting to pick up too. The winds were just getting more and more stronger as the stream was going on. And by next morning, I tuned in for a brief second, and I saw that the winds were already there. and the waves were just coming in because the hurricane was really close to Barbados. And throughout the day, it was making its impact on the Windward Islands. And this thing is still holding on to hurricane status. It's not weakening until it gets near the Yucatan Peninsula as a tropical storm. But it has a potential of going into the Gulf, and by the time it gets into the Gulf, it's probably going to be strengthened back into a hurricane again. So yeah, Hurricane Beryl made its marks on the Windward Islands as a major hurricane, as a Cat 4. And it weakened briefly to a Cat 3, but now it's back into a Cat 4. It made its mark on the Windward Islands. It made its destruction on the Windward Islands, and now it's trying to exit. And it's still going to be a major hurricane, and then it's going to pass south of Jamaica and the Dominican Republic. Jamaica and the Dominican Republic have tropical storm watches and hurricane watches. I think maybe a warning now. Who knows? I'm going to have to check again. The hurricane is expected to pass out of Jamaica and the Dominican Republic. And then it's going to go into the Yucatan Peninsula as a hurricane and then briefly weaken to a tropical storm. But I really think it's going to re-strengthen back into a hurricane once it gets to the Gulf, and then most likely hit eastern Texas. Yeah, and last night Hurricane Chris made its mark on eastern Texas. And this is the third tropical system this year to hit eastern Mexico. As I was saying, last night we had Tropical Storm Chris made its mark on eastern Mexico as a weak tropical storm, and it was really short-lived. And it made its mark on eastern Mexico. And this is the third tropical system this year to make its mark on eastern Mexico, because we had Alberto in June, and then we had a disturbance go in there, and now we have Tropical Storm Chris making its mark on there, with heavy rain and gusty winds and some flooding. Chris made a lot of rainfall on eastern Mexico, and it's really drenched over there now, and now Chris is at its remnants, because it was a very short-lived tropical storm, and it wasn't a tropical storm very long because it was very close to landfall, and it made its landfall and weakened immediately as a very weak tropical storm to its remnants. Yeah, because of how close it was to land, it was a very short-lived tropical storm. I mean, once a hurricane makes landfall, it starts to weaken. And yeah, that's Tropical Storm Chris for you. It made landfall in eastern Mexico overnight, and it gave the area a lot of rain and gusty winds, and now it's weakened to its remnants. And it gave Mexico several inches of rain, of flooding rain. And now we have our disturbance, which actually had a 70% chance in the Atlantic, but now it's starting to lose its confidence for some reason, and now it has a 50% chance in 7 days. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how that disturbance is losing its energy. When it was in the same area Beryl was in before it formed. Yeah, I don't know why that disturbance is losing its confidence. It definitely beats me. It was at a 70% chance last night, but now it's at a 50% chance, while it's still out in the ocean. And now we have a Pacific disturbance we have to keep an eye on, with a 40% chance in 7 days. Yeah, that one looks like it's going to have confidence of becoming something in the Pacific, and that will make our first Pacific tropical storm of 2024. That will be our first tropical system of 2024 for the Pacific. And the Pacific hurricane season is going to have a late start this year. So yeah, it's getting really crazy in the tropics right now, and I guess that's it. Bye.